My 35F husband, 44M, wants another baby. I hate the idea. As the title says, I'm really hesitant about going through another pregnancy. We already have 4 children, 6F, 6F, 4F and 2M. Husband doesn't want our son to just be surrounded by sisters, he wants him to have a brother to bond with. Some background. He comes from a rather large family, 16 siblings totals, he's the youngest and each sibling has at least 5 or more kids. He already has 5+ kids from a previous relationship, his youngest is 8 years older than our oldest. His other kids don't really visit much, not because of distance, they live 30 minutes away, their mom, 52F, just hates us and refuses to allow them to visit. At this point husband thinks it's useless to even try to have a relationship with his other kiddos or even let them bond with our little ones. He had majority boys from his previous relationship and only 2 girls, so he's used to a male-dominated household. Even growing up, he only had 3 sisters total and the rest of his siblings are male. Which is where the problem arises. He only wants to have another baby because he wants to give our youngest a brother. He's worried growing up with only sisters is gonna make him effeminate and just basically, not a man, so our son might not like football or basketball, won't fish etc. Ya know your typical cliché male things, so he needs a brother to bond with over boy stuff. I personally don't feel any type of way whether my son is effeminate or whatever. He has his father for that male bond stuff my husband so desperately wants. Besides, when he starts school he'll make boyfriends, and isn't that more than enough? And no, he can't bond with his boy cousins. He barely has any close to his age. The few that are, we don't really talk to them. After the separation between him and his ex, pretty much his entire family took her side, so we basically don't even talk to them and only interact with my family. For my family, I'm the youngest of 5. Mom wanted extra kids cause she was an only child and didn't want us to be lonely like her. Out of all of us only myself and my oldest sibling have kids, the rest are 100% child-free and want to stay that way. My oldest sibling only has 2 kids, 15M, 10F. They live 5 states away, so even if we could visit, our son and his aren't even remotely close in age for them to have that familial male bond. I personally don't want more kids. I barely even wanted to have one. With everything that's going on in the world right now, I just feel it would be extremely irresponsible for us to have another baby. I don't want to risk getting pregnant with twins again, that was a nightmare. And end up with 6 kids total. We live in a 5-bedroom house, so each kid gets their own room, and I wouldn't want to bring in another living being into our household to crowd up the space. Growing up was awful cause I never had my own personal space. I had to share a room with my sisters and it felt like I wasn't really an individual until I got older and moved out. I just simply don't want that for my kids. There's also the very big chance we'll end up with another girl anyway, it's not like we can choose gender. Plus, another baby would be financial suicide. We can give the 4 kids we already have the best life possible and set them up for success plus a college fund for each, or have another kid, potentially risk having twins again, and give them a mediocre life with no college fund or space for individuality. I just don't know when will it be enough for him? He already has more than enough kids. JFC, they're not Pokemon. I'm tired of the arguments. I'm just really exhausted. I can't handle more kids. I just really want out. Too long did not read. Husband wants to have another baby boy because he doesn't want our son to grow up effeminate or lonely due to only having sisters. I don't want more kids. Your husband sounds like a misogynistic bell end. What happens if ye conceive a girl? Keep aborting until you have a boy? So he basically threw away 5 whole kids instead of fighting for his right to see them? I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess he's not paying child support for them. I hope I'm wrong. Sorry, but your husband is sorry as fuck if he's not gonna fight for the rights to the original 5 he already has. No, they're not Pokemon, and no, they're not fucking disposable. What a man you got there. Your stance is completely reasonable, rational and justified. You lost me at 16 siblings, with rare exceptions, that many children speaks of a severe mental disorder, or deficit, or a serious state of denial. Hey breeders, please don't jump on me. I said there were exceptions. Instead of trying to replicate that nonsense, your husband should be seeking to break the cycle. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. Frankly, your husband sounds like a piece of shit. Especially with the nonsense about how your son will end up being gay if he doesn't have a brother. Your husband is a dick on so many levels. I'm tired of typing. Your husband is a deadbeat dad to his first family. How do you know the same won't happen to yours if he leaves you for not giving him another son? Make sure you're on a form of birth control that can't be tampered with. No more kids for that man. Please. It's your body. So if the chance you get a girl, he's going to throw her away or have another child until you get a boy? His logic is flawed. Do you even have the funds to raise all those kids? I think you're more reasonable here. Tell him no. I see why his ex hates him. He won't fight for the kids he already has. He doesn't deserve any more. So, he already has 10 plus kids and wants to have another one just in hopes it will be a boy? What happens if it isn't? Just keep popping them out till it is. He doesn't need any more kids. He already has 10 plus. Enough is enough. I just want to point out that studies have shown that boys with more brothers tend to have more of a tendency to become homosexual than with more sisters. Most people feel it is the other way around. It would be different if his claim was based in science, but it's based on misogyny. 16 siblings with 5 kids each. Did you marry into a family of fucking rabbits? Wait up, how many kids did he have before y'all had your kids? I know you're trying to be vague for anonymity reasons. But on a serious note, if he has not fully disclosed how many kids he has, and isn't paying support or even spending time with those kids, I think you're up in a bad situation. Regardless, do not have any more kids with this man. I somehow suspect this is fake. Has a 15 brothers and sisters. That's really outlandish, even by Mormon standards. He has 9 or more kids of his own at only 44 years old, youngest with the previous women being at least 14 years old. And you knew he was a poss after the first 2 kids and wanted to leave but somehow thought it was a great idea to have 2 more with him? You've been together for at least 6 years, which puts him at 28 years old when y'all got together. If his youngest is 8 years older than your twins, that means they were 2 when y'all got together. Subtract at least 4 more years from that to account for the other 4 kids. He had his first around 23, 24. With someone 8 years older than him? Just all seems really unbelievable. Your husband sucks. Your husband sounds like an abusive misogynist. You didn't want 1 kid and had 4. Yeah, how did that happen? Was he shooting for a boy this whole time? Is this a man you want your daughters to call a father? You think they will get same attention and respect from him as his son? He is trash and you know it. Leave him, if you can. If you cannot, well, you have to start building your financial independence. And tie your tubes. Read The Gift of Fear. No visible bruises. Why does he do that? Tell him and do something to prevent getting pregnant. Tom Brady is the youngest of 4 kids with 3 older sisters, so explain that. A boy, grew up with my 2 sisters and mom, and it didn't make a difference because I made friends TF as her husband on a boot. If you don't want another baby, don't do it. You will resent your husband and may take it out on the child. I don't necessarily mean you would abuse the child. You more likely be the sole carer for that child, and that is not fair to you or the child since you don't want any more. As a man that grew up with no other men in the house, granted it was just my mom and I, but still, no other men. This whole, he needs a brother, mentality is complete bullshit. I never had any brothers or dad, and as I grew up I got along a lot more with guys. Your son already has another man in the house. He doesn't need another. A male to bond with? Isn't that his job? For all he knows, one of your daughters could be a tomboy. It shouldn't make a difference either way. Tell your husband you can have more kids when you impregnate him and he births them. End discussion. I understand that you're worried about leaving him because you're worried about how that would affect your kids, but I think staying with him could end up hurting your kids a lot worse. Please do not have another baby just to try to give your son a brother. What if you have another girl? Will your husband want to keep trying until it's a boy? If you don't want another kid, don't have one. Let your husband know that you are not going to change your mind. Fuck him. 4 kids is already too many. Lots of kids don't have close-age same-sex siblings as playmates. They make friends, and play with their friends. Sounds like hubby has a thing for wanting lots of offspring, and his history seems to show that too. Doesn't mean he should bully you into having kids you don't want, since you take all the medical risk of pregnancy to have them. Enough already. Stop contributing to world's overpopulation problem. You are allowed to control yourself how many kids you carry. This pressure is not normal and not fair. Edit, he's a deadbeat dad. Seriously, don't even think about it. Go to the doctors and have the problem taken care of. Then do yourself a favor and make him scarce. Not the asshole you're 44, he's an asshole, and you have enough kids. Go get your checkup and make an APPT for an IUD at the same time. Just in case. Then start looking for career training, brushing up so you can restart your career when the 2-year-old starts kindergarten. If Hubs is on thin ice at work, do all you can to pay off the house if you own, or save up money for a move if that ends up being what's needed. I think everyone in this family, besides you, have bad intentions for having children. Having extra kids so your kids don't feel lonely is not a good reason to have a child. Humans are not knickknacks that need to be paired up and collected. He is literally saying his son is going to miss out on a bond that he thinks he needs. That's to even say you have another boy. This is seriously the wrong reason to bring another child into the world. Please, by all means, do not have another baby with this person. You've only got 8 more years until he's comfortable leaving you guys. I know it sounds scary, but don't keep extending the time frame. And definitely don't follow his ex. File for child support immediately when he leaves you. You didn't even want 1 baby, yet you married someone who already had 5 kids in his 30s and clearly wanted more and went on to have 4? Don't expect him to take your opinion into consideration if you have clearly never spoken up for yourself. You're getting some really good advice here. You have to know that a man who cheats with you cheats on you. Divorce, get court-ordered child support and just wait. Your children probably have 1 or more half-sibs you know nothing about. Your body, your children. Take precautions with your birth control lest he try to sabotage it. My male stance is the woman has to carry a baby to term and all that goes with it, so it's her call. 4 children are more than enough. I was the 3D child and then mom gave birth to twins boys. 5 kids placed a hardship on my parents. We kids did without a lot. Your husband might think long-term if he hasn't. A lot of red flags here. Do not have another child with this man. He has 5 kids already that do not see him. He doesn't need more kids. There is also no promise that kid number 10 will be male. So what then? Keep having babies till it's a boy. He sounds like a reproductive abuser's, where he needs to get women pregnant and keep them pregnant. You didn't want kids yet he forced you to have them and keep having them. It is extremely telling that his family sided with the ex. Huge red flag. Do not have another kid with this man. Please get help. Me reading that he already had 5+ kids from a previous relationship was like, white guy blinking gif. I mean, you married a misogynist, and now he's behaving like one, so. How do you want your children to be raised? How do you want them to be treated? I know that leaving would be extremely difficult given the number of children involved, and the cost of raising them. I don't really see him stepping up with child support, but he is a misogynist. You have 3 daughters, he is already a cheater, and will probably throw you away when he finds someone new who he thinks can give him 17 boys or something. He sees everybody around him as disposable. I would start making a plan to leave. I wouldn't have any more kids with him. Imagine if you wind up divorcing. He would no longer want a relationship with your children. You'd have to rely on yourself, your family, and his if you're lucky. Your husband needs to be a parent to his other children. I never understood reproducing and not taking care of the children you currently have or reproducing with someone who neglects their kids. He needs to be sterilized. I personally don't want more kids, and that's your answer. Your husband is barely a father to his first 5 children, and even if you had another baby there's no guarantee that this one would care about manly bonding in any way. And it says a lot none of it good that his entire family agrees with his ex-wife. 16 siblings totals, he's the youngest, and each sibling has at least 5 or more kids. I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. This is just impossible. Even for Mormons. Remind your husband a child is not a fashion accessory or prop for machismo. If you are done having kids, explain that you are done and you love your kids as they are. Your son will find his character even amongst his sisters. Your husband should understand that he already has enough kids to occupy his hands and should focus on caring on the ones he has. Depot shot, IUD, birth control pills. Oh, and if you can, I'd try to find your own job to help save money for you and the kids, in case he doesn't want to work things out. If you have a lot of girls already, the odds are low that you will have a boy. My mom is one of 6 sisters. A friend had 3 boys and hoped for a girl next. She had twins. Twin boys. She has 5 boys.